its breath just before the southeaster wind comes to blow us to hell and back. It's a very Tennessee Williams sort of night. Steamy, smelling, secretive. And around Long Street you can feel eyes watching everything you move from behind the curtains. On one such night somebody ran into the theatre and said, "Come out! Come outside quickly, there's a drama happening in Long Street." We thought, no! Yes, he said, so we ran out. Kathy left the coffee bar. Mrs. A left the box office. No, she took it with her. The players came rushing out. The actors came rushing out. Even the plainclothes cop with a hard-on came rushing out. We rushed into Long Street, and there, standing in the middle of Long Street, stopping the traffic, right in front of Carnival Court, was a youngish man with two huge butcher knives in his hands. And he stared at us with wild eyes and he said, "Don't come near me! Don't come near me! No one try and stop me! No one try and stop me!" What? We wouldn't dream of it. We watched with absolute fascination. Don't come near me! Don't come near me! And out of the shadows came a small bird-like lady with thin arms and white hair. She said, "Johnny, this is your mummy. Mummy, don't come near me, mummy. I'll kill myself, mummy. I can't live like this, mummy. I'm going to kill myself." "No, Johnny." "Yes, mummy. No, Johnny, no. Johnny, think of me. Think of Kitty and the others. Johnny, my boy. Johnny, my boy, my boy." And she just went straight for him and put her thin little arms around his waist. I mean, she only reached him to here. And when she touched him, he dropped the knives and started crying. Dry, dry sobs of desperation. And they huddled, and she moved him gently, gently towards the sidewalk, gently towards where the open door of Carnival Court loomed in the shadows, while whispering sweet, gentle little motherly things to this horrible, unhappy hunk called son. And then she stopped and she looked at us staring and she said, "Good night, the show's over." The show was never over, not in Long Street. How many times after rehearsals we would stand on the veranda, me and Marilyn van Rennen and Greta Fox, sipping up Tassenberg and wearing our caftans. Remember, this was the 70s. My God, we had set up fine caftans. To watch the passing parade in the street and what was happening across the road on the balcony of Carnival Court. Extraordinary selection of strange, blonde, red-headed, dark-rooted girls with their sailors, slitty-eyed, not quite white sailors. And some girls with pregnant stomachs and husbands with big beer bellies with black eyes and bruises, and lots of children's clothes hanging on the little washing line, and broken children's toys, and even a big dartboard with John Forster's face in the middle of it. And right in the middle of this balcony was a chair on which sat a middle-aged Afrikaans woman who smoked Kabbalah cigarettes and listened to Springbok radio, and watched everyone with the eyes of a hawk. I called her Auntie Dora. In fact, they inspired me to write a play called Carnaval. It didn't take much imagination. All I had to do was look through the window. In fact, when we did the play at the Outer Space, we invited the ladies from Carnival Court to come see a dress rehearsal. I didn't want them to hear that we were doing something behind their backs. But then we had built their house on the stage. I mean, there it was on the stage of the Outer Space, exactly what you see at the bottom of Bacon Street. The brookie lace, the balcony, the washing line, the children's clothes, the dartboard with Forster's face, and there was Auntie Dora sitting on her chair and smoking Kabbalah cigarettes and listening to Springbok. In fact, we waited outside, nervous in case they'd come out hurt, or angry, or even worse, someone come and dawn on us because they were tough cookies, eh? And Auntie Dora came out first in tears. She said, "Oh, no shame, those poor girlies." It's so tragic to see what happens to some people. There, by the grace of God, go. And she went straight back to her veranda, lit a cigarette, switch on Springbok radio, having seen absolutely nothing familiar on the stage. Hey, isn't the theatre supposed to be a mirror? Or is it just a window? Well, we did Carnaval for 10 performances in the Outer Space. And then the censor board saw the reality of the characters. The censor board banned Carnaval because they said, "Ons mense is nie so nie."
see at Carnival Court. I like little Rita Foytok. You know when Rita came here from the farm, she was so sweet, so ouderlike meisie met haar klein rooi vlegsel. She didn't even know any English. Was it vir ure hier op die veranda sit en praat? I thought she was my friend. En toe vreet die stad haar op. Oh. You know, they can't believe it when I say that I was here first. They say, Auntie Dora, when did you come here? I say, my dear, let me think. I remember sitting here on my veranda, smoking a Kabbalah cigarette and listening to Springmount Radio on the 6th of April, 1652. When Jan van Riebeeck came up to look after me. Well, if it wasn't for that horrible Maria van Riebeeck, then Oom Jan and I would have run away to Batavia and got married. Fado. Mario made me say over and over again, Fado. In his funny accent, I oh Mario. It was an Italian accent, they tell me. I listened to him for hours while he spoke to me and I didn't understand a word he said. It sounded like music, Fado. He used to come here and lock his shop up and bring me some spaghetti and cannelloni and a little bit of wine. And there we used to sit for a long time. And he used to sing songs from the Italian operas for me very softly because he didn't want the girlies to hear and laugh at him because he was very sensitive with them. But you know, Mario didn't like the way the girlies were going to fetch sailors for friends. He said they were too young to go with sailors. I said, Mario, I'm keeping an eye on them, Scott. I know these sailors, they're very safe. They are not blacks, they are honorary whites. All of them are Javanese and no problem can happen. Trust me, Oh, Mario didn't understand those things. But I say to you sometimes, Mario looked very dark. I looked at his skin in the daylight, ek toch nie, here Mario, jy lyk 'n bietjie getikkie so. I was always very worried that the people across those actors with their glasses of wine and those nice clothes they wear would look at me sitting with this man who is my friend and think he was a coming home. Ek say niks, the less I say, the less they know. I mean, someone had to walk the narrow path to make it wide enough for the girlies to run along if you get my drift. Gits and I smiled when they took these. Can't see any sign of a smile. Horrible big bones that look like a dead person's mouth. I wish Mario was still alive so that he could explain these pictures to me. Tell me more or less what they say is really wrong with me. But Mario was such a gentleman, he would look at pictures like this and say, no, it's a picture of a beautiful girl. And then he would just sing me another Italian song, and that would be the idea. Oh, Mario. Oh, nee, ek is so hartseer. You know when they found Mario in the alleyway? He had been stabbed 14 times. He had lain there from a Friday till a Monday morning under the garbage. No one saw him. How could someone have done something like that to one of us who lives here? Probably some scolly from the Cape Flats. Oh, Mario, no more singing, no more spaghetti. Yeah, you know, a week after his funeral, I was going to church on Sunday and I walked past this face place and I heard piano playing. So I stopped and I looked up the red stairs. But I couldn't see anyone. So I went up the red stairs, but it was still closed to people. But Kathy, the cleaning lady, was there and she said, yeah, they were going to have a classical concert. And did I want to come? And I said, oh, nee, dankie, ek is nog alleen. She said, no, she will give me a ticket. And I said, bye, dankie. And I went to church. And I went to church, but ek was so hartseer oor Mario en ek het vir hom gebid. I prayed for Mario, even though he was a Catholic, I prayed for Mario. And then I came back here and I put on my little green hat and I went across to the concert at the Space Place. There were so many fancy people there, I thought, I might just stand on the street corner and listen. Listen through the open window, you know. There were Gracie Bessie was lying on her blanket with an empty bottle voor je toch altijd die oude bokken. Oh, but that music was so beautiful. Listening to that music, it reminded me of when I came to Cape Town from Philadelphia. Oh, that was years ago. The first thing I did was go to a Sunday night concert at the City Hall. Ooh, ik was zo opgewonden, ik heb zo mijn hart opgepraat. Mensen het omgedaan en gezegd, shush, shush, shush. En hij heeft gelachen met mijn snaakse kleren. Ik moet zeggen, mijn cent het een beetje in mijn neus begin stinken. It was scum. I was ashamed for being so alive. All those fancy people were listening like the dead, sitting there, silent like the dead. I wanted to get up and scream. I wanted to celebrate. Ik wou jubelen. Ik wou zeggen, oei, jere jongens, super, zo mooi, zo. Ik heb daar mijn jere erkend. Maar ik was drijf. Ik weet. Een oude verlipte uit die backstreets. Wat weet zij van classical music? Niks. But even that little concert at the Space Place, hearing that music through the window, was like angels singing. Now what must I take? Must I take my dressing gown? Or do you get a dressing gown when they book you into the hospital? Dr. Stein says it's only for a few days. He says they want to do a checkup. Yeah, what are they checking up for? Signs of life? I should just ask them to let me listen to some nice music. That's what I should ask for. And I'm going to miss the new play that opens at the Space next week. Do you know, I can't stop going now. It's so wonderful, much more exciting than the films. Kathy and Mrs. A at the box office, they let me know when it isn't very full, because then the doctor doesn't sit in his special chair in the back row, and then I can go and watch the acting from the doctor's chair. I think the doctor sees the best acting in the theater from that chair. I saw such wonderful acting there, a play called Love, about two men and a girl in America on a bridge. Oeh, en dan een grillige geding met die naam van Dracula. I was scared to come home because Long Street looked so dark. I knew somebody would bite me in my neck. Oh, and then a beautiful play called Bar and Ger. About a brother and a sister. So reminded me of my brother Gerardus. Bar and Ger. Yeah, Yvonne Iceland and little Billy Flynn. I know them. They don't know me, but I know them. I know them all now. Hey, hulle is daarom so slim, die kinders. They have their life right in front of them. Hulle lewens lê uitgestrek soos die see. Ek weet ek kan vir hulle foto's wys van my wonderlike lewe. Nie swart en wit foto's van die dood nie, maar kleurfoto's van die lewe. Daar is hulle in my kop, al my foto's van my wonderlike lewe. Vandag nog, bietjie stiller, ek onthou meer. Dink meer, maar toe was het vol mallighede. Het is goed, ek het nie getrouwd, ek sou man en kinders voor my voete vastgetrap het. New Year in Gordons Bay. Eers kerk toe, en daarna stilletjies wegsluip agter Henderson se slagtery, om daar bietjie te gaan dans. Trek klavier gejoel. New Year resolution, Dora moet nie vloek nie, Dora moet nie drink nie, Dora moet nie ophou lag nie. Ek sien Jan Venter is dood. Ek het Jan Venter in Gordons Bay geken. Dood. Ek wonder of dit my Jan Venter was. My Jan Venter wou 'n sendeling word. Die Jan Venter was 'n ryk man. Seker dieselfde Jan Venter. Hey, Here, dit gaan so gou verby. Gister gebore, môre weg. Die son sak al op my. Fado! I must just lie in my hospital bed and think of this funny play. That's what I must do. Oh,
Long Street, 1997, still fantastic. They put little lights around all the trees, high voltage electricity so that the drongies touch the poles. Even the sex shops look quite inviting from your car. Long Street has always had a life of its own. And even in the 70s, Long Street did everything before anybody else did. I mean, it was where the space found a home. It was where the bookshops found their homes. Those wonderful bookshops in Long Street. I think the only one that survived is Clark's bookshop. Cranford's came and went. Other bookshops appeared and disappeared. Oh, but Second Time Around is still there. That wonderful treasure chest of old dresses and fur coats and shoes and cock playing fantastic. How British blonde spiky-haired Brenda used to dress up our productions perfectly out of her magic wardrobe. Unfortunately, the Mountain View Bar is no longer there. Yes, that was a legend in everybody's lunchtime, especially Spider's lunchtime and Grace's lunchtime, and Ethel Fugard's lunchtime when it used to be a liquid lunchtime. Ethel used to go into the Mountain View and listen to all those accents and all the stories and drink himself into an absolute coma. Those days are over, thank heavens. Ethel can now remember what happened yesterday. Billy Monk used to make wonderful sandals and leather goods in a little shop just underneath the space and chase all the girls around town, but still managed to take extraordinary photographs of life in Cape Town during the 60s. And these photographs still exist today, all these years after Billy Monk was murdered and buried at sea. And oh my God, the fish shop. Who can forget the fish shop over which we lived? I can hear some familiar laughter. Those terrible fish fumes that used to just come up and everything was just full of fish smells and the cockroaches were this big. And they all had snoop asses. Of course, nowadays it's not a fish shop, it's a little coffee shop, and believe me, nothing there smells of snoop. Nothing. Long Street, the absolute charming heart of the mother city. And yet there have always been people trying to pull that heart out and destroy it. But thanks to the people of Cape Town and architects like Rebel Fox, Long Street never became another Voortrekker Road, although in the 70s it nearly did.
Southeaster comes from nowhere and goes to nothing. Scheiße. To let. For sale? To let. People are leaving South Africa like rats leaving a sinking ship. This I could have predicted 10 years ago. Although 10 years, whenever you went overseas, they didn't even know where South Africa was. They just stared at you because you weren't black, huh? They knew from nothing, and always from nothing. And today they know more than from nothing. Even those who say, what is this apartheid business? And you say, this is not business, this is politics. Never the two shall meet. You are asking for trouble. What do I need with politics? I have politics up to here, huh? Here. Politics nearly destroyed the world, enough is enough, huh? So when the blacks and the coloureds come with their complaints, and I know a lot of black and coloured people, some very nice, very reliable, very clean, you would never know they were black. Each one seems to have a son who's got a best friend who comes with this political bullshit. What we blacks are going through, what we blacks have got to suffer. Yeah, I said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you can't go and see opera at the Nico Milan Opera House, but who gives a fuck about opera anyway? I'm sorry you have to watch your films in your own cinemas in your own areas, but be grateful you don't have to find parking in town. So you live in a shit neighborhood, sequence not Hollywood. And you have to carry a passport, big deal, big deal. How do you think I draw money from the bank? With a passport, ID documents. Stop the complaining already. You people don't know what suffering is. You don't know what it's like to live in a country where suddenly the thugs can break hearts and windows and lives because it is legal to hate the fucking Jews. You know from nothing.
households all. Some even Jews. Just because you've got no foreskin doesn't mean you've got sense. Afrikaners with arrogance. Now that I remember from the old days. The man with the power is the man with the power, not the man with the idea, not the man with the initiative, not the man with vision, just the power. Every time they laugh at me when I try and speak their language, I want to. Excuse me, come with the permit. Ha ha ha, what a funny accent. Funny woman, funny fucking Jew boy. I look at that power. And I know, like you know, that God does not sleep. Power comes and power goes, like old age and youth. I will never forget those photographs after the Second World War of Mussolini hanging from the meat hook. This B.J. Foster, Prime Minister made for the meat hook. All those other racist bastards, meat hook material. I know what happens when you push people under a carpet. They use that carpet to suffocate you. Not today, not this year, but maybe next year. And so when they don't want to sell to a Jew, I just say, my friend, what do you think the black man is going to do when he's had enough? Is he going to say thanks for nothing? Is he going to give you a chance to say, I was on your side? He will cut you up into little pieces and get a medal from the United Nations. Of course, they don't want to sell in Longstreet. Why should they? It's nice here in Longstreet. The southeast, the wind is a pain, but the life is slow and the rents are low. After a few whispered words about revenge, a few choice comments about what the blacks do to each other in the townships on a weekend, I say to them, look there, look at that space theater. What do you think this is? Communists. Communists! These are communists subverting under your very nose in Longstreet. Look what happened in Europe. The burning of the Reichstag, that was not Hitler, that was communists. Yeah. And the space, real estate, private real estate, worth a fortune, those drama people can't pay rent. I say to Ratkin, what are you doing about the rent? Oh, Ratkin says, it's all for our watchdog. Ratkin is a foolish landlord. He's bad for business. I say, Ratkin, there's a law in this land called the Group Areas Act, which makes it illegal for blacks and whites to sit together in a room like they're sitting in the space theater in your building. Stick to the law, keep them apart, Ratkin. It is the law of the land. I don't like it, but my name is not John Foster. I must keep my nose clean. I already see my ass in District 6 buying up everything. And then they move everyone onto the Cape Flats and I have to break everything down. And now I sit with useless real estate along Devil's Peak that looks like the Sinai Desert. My friend, you don't need laws to keep the season in outer space. 3 of the plays, 2 of which had been molested by the censor board. The first one was Hello Story. They banned the script, but you could see it, so you couldn't read it, but you could see it. Carnival, they banned the production, but not the script, so you could not see that, but you could read that. Or vice versa. What we never knew, we just did everything. And God's Forgotten should have been banned, but it wasn't. What was it? A combination of all those things: exhaustion, fear, censorship, paranoia, maybe even the feeling that you weren't being loved. You know what happens in all relatively good marriages. There was a bus stop, a walkout. Me and my actors went that way, and the space stayed there. It took some time to heal the breach, some time, but we did, like in all good marriages. And it was during those last few months as a space creature that a new alphabet defined itself within me. Madeline van Reenen did a very brave, a very exotic production of Jean Genet's play The Maids, in which she used our 2 male-colored actors, Vincent Abraham and Bill Curry, as the 2 maids, and she used the one Calvinist Afrikaans balding actor as Madame. I think that was the beginning of another monstrous madam. At the same time, I did a little lunchtime show called Just Hilda. Just in which one collected all sorts of wonderful ladies together. There was Marlene Dietrich, obviously, and a Lily Tomlin sketch that I'd cribbed from her translated to Afrikaans. And then I did a Boeremeisie who was passionately in love with Gey Korsten. See how deeply satirical I was. And ending the show in her red dress and blonde wig with matching bag, brook, bra and accent was a lady called Tanny Hadmi. Well, now, it was quite easy doing Tanny Hadmi because there were so many Tannies around just like her. Sorry. This time they've gone too far. I don't usually say this, but I'm very happy my husband wasn't here with me tonight. Herman would have had a fit. He can't bear to hear women use profane language, let alone Afrikaans women. Although I don't think Herman has ever been with me to the theatre, let alone this type of experimental theatre. Well, I suppose one relief is that none of my friends will recognize me here. That's one thing I'm sure of. They don't come to the space. Except last year, somebody did recognize me. I think it was one night in May. Yes, the production by Bill Tanner of Glass Menagerie, a wonderful American play by Tennessee Williams, one of my favorite. The security police decided to raid the theatre. Just when Yvonne was at her most moving, her most spectacular. Like the Gestapo, these barbarians stomped in. And why? Because somebody complained. Somebody phoned them and said blacks and whites were sitting together in the space, and it was against the law of the land and should be stopped. Goodness, if I'd had boot polish in my bag, I would have put it onto my face and demanded to be arrested. But it was too late. The magic was gone, the lights went on. Poor Yvonne just suddenly became Yvonne and stood there. The young actors, Dunster and Flynn, just stared. I recognized the plainclothes man in charge of the security police, Ben Engelbrecht. Ambitious, young, ruthless, a killer. Somebody my husband said was worth watching. Cabinet minister material. Minister of police, no doubt. He stared at me. Oh yes, I didn't look at him, but I could feel him.
Percy Sief.
Says I need no introduction, and then she introduces me. Well, here it is. Space Theatre. This is your life. Well, it worked on television. Well, listen, here we are. I mean, you know, it's got the script and just be together. I said, you know, that I wasn't going to break down. And I saw Kathy Zeman, and I cried. And I'll probably break down several times through tonight. This is going to be a Kleenex night par excellence for all of us. You know, now looking back 25 years down the road, we know what the space did. We now know the space changed theatre. It changed attitudes, and it changed lives. I know it changed mine. You know, it rekindled for me a passion in the theatre. It got me out of the comfort groove. It got me to stand up and be counted. And there are lots of us going to attest to those same things and many others, and we're going to hear from those people during the course of the evening. But we have to go back to number one. Let's go back right to the beginning, to a mere slip of a boy. Well, you could hardly call him a slip of a boy, but he wasn't very old then. Let's hear it for Brian Asprey. Brian, you have a few words, I'm sure, for these people assembled here, and would you like to tell us how it all started and what your dream was and what you felt about it?
I just wanted to earn money. Listen, just hang on a second. When the space started on the first night, the police had just told us we can't go on with this performance, so I slowly started learning how to make speeches. But tonight I was told that he was going to ask me questions.
Well, first question, Brian, would you please make a speech for us? Brian, I understand the idea was conceived in London of the space.
Well, the idea was conceived by a lot of people of the space. It was conceived around a lot of late night tables with Athol and Yvonne and Wilson and Bill and Paul and Gary Byrne, and all sorts of people were involved. Everybody was saying, if only we had a space. Now, if I heard that once, I heard it, I don't know, 15, 20, 35,000 times. People said, if only we had a space. Orestes arrived and changed my life, and obviously with that quite a lot of others, because without it I would never have even begun to conceive of this. And Orestes introduced me to the idea of personal responsibility, which is a rough one. And one day, after all this talk, and having sat in London in a small basement theatre called the Open Space, looking at this, you know, completely bare seating with hardly any lights, and thinking that can't cost a lot. Came back and then wrote to my mother and said, find me a bigger photographic studio, and that was all it was going to be. I thought I'll be a photographer and keep earning lots of money. And once a year we'll hand it over to Athol, Yvonne and Co, and they can do a piece of theatre in there. Athol and Yvonne didn't take it in the slightest but seriously. They spoke to me very patronizingly and said, yes, Brian, and they listened and said, oh yes, that's marvelous, right. Thinking, hope to God he forgets about it. But when I arrived back here, I found a sort of tidal wave, looking not terribly much older.
Brian, a personal question. When you used to ask Mrs. A for money, did she give it to you? Brian, you know, you're talking about a lot of people. Of course, they weren't all actors. They were, as you say, Mr. Seba, and I'm sure that wasn't who PD was and lots of other people who really weren't, who just gave their professional time. And,
yes.
Malcolm Group, I think, is here tonight.
Yes. We had everybody, lawyers. I mean, Malcolm, we constantly had to phone up really high-powered barristers to defend us who would all do it for nothing. It was amazing. We had a very famous judge once hauling a very big printing company off our back that we couldn't pay the bill for the first set of programs, all sorts of things. I remember him phoning this man and kept saying, call off the dogs, call off the dogs. We just had, when I wrote the book and I said in the front, always it was people, I really meant that. Because always it was people. We had so many people who were constantly giving to the space, receiving nothing in return except possibly the satisfaction one hopes that they got from what we did. But there were so many people that actually just gave and gave and gave from the first day to the last day, ranging from people like Moira Fine, right through Les Benson, all of those people. You know, to start down that list of names means that we will still be here, 12 going on one after the other.
We've got time. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Brian, I wish we did have the time, but you know we don't. We want to talk to a lot of people, and thank you, you know, for everything you did. And let's Bill Curry. Billy? Bill Curry. Bill Curry here? Mnet Factories, yeah? Thank you, Mnet. There he is. Down with it, Billy. And tell us about...
What am I saying? How do you do?
I told you not to wear the houseboy clothes. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you. Billy, tell us about what this place meant to you.
Well, one of the first things the space ever meant to me was when Mavis Taylor invited me to do a very strange play, and I saw near the production date this man walking about the floor, and he had a hammer in his hand. And I wondered what he was doing, and he said, "Oh, we can't have this man rolling about the floor and he'll get himself hurt." That was Brian Asper, looking after me. Can you believe it? Yes. Well, subsequently, the CGO, my old pal Dennis Hatfield, drama critic, when Brian promoted me to official printer, said to me, when I left the house at 6:30, he said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I've got to go down to the theatre to do a layout, and then I've got to do a program. Print a program." He said, "They're getting good value out of you, aren't they?" Subsequently, and this is important, I was diddled by an impresario.
You weren't.
Who? Can you believe it? Unmentionable. And he didn't pay me. And the man had the temerity to say to me, "But Billy, you did this for nothing for the space." And he was much taller than me, and I said, "That is an ideal. You are a commercial enterprise."
B. Berman came from London. B, are you here? Where are you? Come here, B. Where's B. Berman? It's not in the loop. Come, Berman. B. Berman arrived at the space one day and just moved in, and we couldn't do without her. And she moved away, and we were crying. A little thinner than what you were at the space. You haven't been eating, huh? B, how are you?
I'm well.
Did you have a good journey?
Yes, long.
How do you feel? How do you feel tonight?
I think it's one of the most extraordinary experiences. When I left, I all of a sudden became aware that there are not many institutes who 25 years later, although they're not around anymore, are actually celebrating something, and that means that I'm actually living and alive in history. And that's very, very special.
I've heard this story so many times, and I want to know if this is true, that after you worked in the space for a while, you suddenly thought truth is the thing, we've got to tell the truth, and that you went to the man who had a corner shop, was his name Mr. Bob, or what was his name? Was it in a Ranger somewhere? And you said to him, I'll tell the story, you don't have to tell me if it's true or not, but apparently he went up to him and said, Mr. Babu, I think it was his name, I used to, sorry? Oh, thought you told me. And she said to him, I've got a confession to make. When I was little, I used to steal sweets from your shop. And he said, that's all right, my dear. Don't worry, I used to charge it your mother's account. Thank you. Glenn, could we have a chair up here, please, if you don't mind? Thank you. Glenn Melville, our very hard-working stage director, stage manager. I don't know how you did it all. Thanks, Alan Amble. You don't have to do this for a living? All right. I say that there were many, certainly in 20 years, 10 years that I was in the space, it feels like 20 years. They were glorious years. The best decade of my life. It really, when looking back now, it really was a highlight. And not only appearing on the stage there, but there was a night in the theatre there that I will never forget, and those of you who were there that night will never forget it either, I'm sure. It was an evening that was billed originally as an evening with Ethel Fugard, John Carney, and Winston Chona. And finally, it saw the light under a different title. And in it, John Carney sat in a chair. John, where are you? John Carney sat in a chair. The lights went up on him, and he took a newspaper and started reading the first lines for Sizwe Bugsy is Dead. Ladies and gentlemen, John Carney.
What? It's already Monday. Jesus. Just the other day, I picked up a newspaper, and it was 1971. Just the other day. Now look again, it's 72. March. The time goes fast. 8 die in an air collision on the Rand. My shame. I tell you one thing. There's one place we will never die. It's in the air. Because we haven't got the money for the bloody plane. Oh God, look at this now. Police in briefs raid nudists. Yes. I wish I was a cop. Just to run around chasing people. Some run so fast, my briefs fall off too. That's it now. Another strike in Ulster. Sometimes I always thought it's us people, black people in the township that cause all the trouble all the time. Very surprised the Irish is in it too. I've always known the Irish have got a bit of a problem with them. But I like the Irish. Mysteries of the Middle East. Now, that's a guy I like. You know who? Gaddafi. I tell you why you like him, he's the communist. I hear Brezhnev likes him too. I don't know what is his case. I don't know what he's about. But I tell you why I like him. Everybody in this country is more afraid of them. Anything that can take them away from me for a moment. Statue not like Smuts. Another poor boy made a huge fuck up. He was asked to do a statue of General Smuts. Now the Buddha say doesn't look like him. Oh, yeah, these are the days of the youth.
You didn't think you were going to get away with just that, did you? Give me the paper back. And especially printed by the Cape Times. Thank you, Cape Times.
Thank you.
John, what did the space mean to you?
We sat in New Brighton, a little black township outside Port Elizabeth, and worked with a white man in 1965 who lived on the other side of Warmer. We always had to explain to the brothers our relationship with this white guy. And at the time when the ANC was recruiting strongly, everybody was leaving the country to be trained, and we were waiting for our turn to be picked up. And like we kept doing these plays in halls, in Bobby Malansky's home, in Athol's garage. Our first little audiences were always the maid of Schoenmaker's Skop. And one day he just said, Athol said he's got a friend. We knew Yvonne right then, and Brian used to come to Athol's place. We knew Yvonne was a great actress. She did with Percy Sif one night. Was it Alpha Beta at the Opera House? I have never been so hurt in my life by that night, Percy. Because they couldn't let me in to see the play. Because the Opera House was for whites only. Percy and Athol stuck us, me and Winston, into the lighting box where the follow spot was moving. And I kept ducking watching the play. And I get so hurt. I said, what's going on in my life? I am a man. What am I doing here? I loved the play. And a year later, Athol paid it back by saying, let's go to the space. We first brought the Just by Albert Camus, the terrorist. Walking into this old warehouse, dilapidated look place. I mean, if you've seen the Opera House, from the lighting box with all the white people down there, all of them looking good. How can you be in a place like this? But that was the beginning of a great beginning in my life. A space is not just a space per se, it's a space within you where you find inside you that space that gives you your sanity. The reason for us going on. In fact, the space proved to me not all white people are bad.
John Carney, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You know, watching Peter Dirk inside there, I suddenly realized again what a marvelous bloody actor he is. And I thought to myself, how the hell are we going to follow this? And I figured out how. By presenting to you Peter Dirk. Peter Dirk is where? Peter? Peter, I know you've done an incredible job inside there. But a few free Evita words, please, for us about the space.
Pre-Evita, I mean, Evita, she's the landlady. We've all had good landlords and landladies, and she's my good landlady. Everything that I stand for, I got there, purely because there was no sentiment about losing. There was no losing at the space. Everything was winning. I mean, tonight I've got flu, I've got a temperature, my nose is running, my mouth, alles is verkeerd. And I remember at the space there was no such thing of saying you can't perform because you're sick. And one didn't, and one is not sick. The flu laid out, so I think I've given it to 7 people already. It was my greatest joy to do what I did tonight. I've been doing it for the last 2.5 weeks, and when I saw Brian 18 months ago at the Fat Farm, he wasn't there, I was there, at the High Rustenburg, and Brian was visiting his mom, and we sat and we talked, and we just found, I said, when was the space born? Anyway, to cut a long story short, he said, on the 27th of March, next year, 25th anniversary, and I thought, we have to remember. And you know how wonderful it is to stand here today on the 27th of March 1997 and remember something that happened 25 years ago in the worst of times, to remember something that was so good that we all feel that we've just walked out of the space tonight, and we just think of the bad things, of which there were more than enough, but my God, there were good things. And thank you, Brian and Yvonne and Athol and everybody. Thanks for the space. Thank you.
I was going to publicly kiss him, but he's got the flu. So okay. Now going back even further than the beginning of the space here, you go back to the Barn Theatre in Constantia, when there was a gala evening to raise funds for the space with an august gathering of stars, all of whom did their things, including me, and Janet, Susan, Barney, Simon, Athol was there, Von. And then a young girl didn't come onto the stage, she was all behind a table, and I remember her glasses kept on slipping down her nose, and she did a piece that just blew us out of the theatre, blew everybody out of the theatre, stole the show. I'm going to ask you to do it again. Thanks, the team at VK.
It's very funny. It was a song that came from a musical called Piri. And when we couldn't find Ken Bosman, who was a social worker and lived in Guguletu, to come and read the poems which were written by the black writers of that time, Brian said to me, "Okay, Lavi, you go." I said, "What?" He said, "You." I said, "Me?" He said, "Yes." I said, "No, I'm not an actress." I said, "No, love, it's just reading poems written by black people." And finally I said yes. And Barney and I used to meet in the Space Theatre. I can't remember which part. It was a staircase. He used to make me sit down there. And he told me the whole story about Piri, which was a musical, French musical, that was translated into Vernac. And he wanted me to do Madam Please as a poem. I took the piece home and read it, and I went, yes! Now I'm going to tell those white women where to get off. And that night I didn't sleep. I learned all the lines. I went back to the space the following morning, and Barney said, "Are you ready?" And I said, "Barney, I am so ready." And Barney said, "Go on." And I did Madam Please with such hatred, with such vengeance. I mean, the words were just made for me, made for a black woman to revolt and tell these white women what they were doing to us black women, our mothers, our sisters. And I finished with a flourish. And Barney looked at me and he didn't say a word, and all of them. And then you've got this fat Barney who's telling you to do this poem the way he wants. So I went back to Barney and I said, "Barney, how do you want me to do this poem?" And Barney said to me, "She's a woman, you're a woman, she doesn't know your experience. Now tell her, talk to her." And I got up, and this is how I did it. "Madam, please, before you shout about your broken plate, ask about the meal her family ate. Madam, please, before you laugh at the watchman's English, try to answer in his Zulu language. Madam, please, before you say that the driver stinks, come, take a bath in a Soweto sink. Madam, please, before you ask me if your children are fine, ask me when I last saw mine. Madam, please, before you say that last Saturday's funeral was a lie, ask me how my people die. Ask about my mother. Is she old? Does she still cook? Does she still sew? Ask about my father. Is he still looking for work? Ask about my brothers. Are they in school or are they in prison? Ask about my sisters. Are they having babies? Ask now what we want. Ask now how we live. Ask now if we dream. Ask now, madam, please. Then, wait, hold on. Wait. At that moment, I was standing in front of a totally alien white audience of very rich women from Constantia in fur coats and diamonds. And what happened next blew my mind because everybody got up, gave me a standing ovation, whistled, stamped, and I stood there dumbfounded. Well, that was not the reaction I wanted, and I left. I was standing under a tree. I remember clearly I went to the toilet, locked myself in and cried. There was a big buffet going on in a tent somewhere. I got out, walked out into the dark, and there was a white lady. Thank God I don't know her. She saw me coming. She was crying. I was crying. She just took me in her arms and said, "My baby." And funny enough, everything was okay. I wiped my tears and went and drank and ate and drank and drank and drank. But, madam, please, again, taught me another lesson. One night, there was a boxing match in Langa, and there was Sophie Mugcina singing the song. And the most beautiful thing happened was that towards the end of the song, we saw the policeman walking towards her in the boxing ring. And suddenly I ran around and I said to my brother, "But Stan, take Sophie out of the stadium now." But the way Sophie did the song was like this. "Madam, please, before you shout about your broken plate, ask about the meal her family ate. Madam, please, before you laugh at the watchman's English, try to answer in his Zulu language. Madam, please, before you ask me if your children are fine, ask me how my people die. Ask me how my people die. Ask now what we want. Ask now how we live. Ask now if we dream. Ask now, madam, please. Thank you, Space Theatre. You made me this.
Have you got flu? Kathy Zeman, our Madam of the Space. Here she is. I'm going to join her. Can you just follow me with a spot, please? And here she is. Kathy. We looked for you, we found you, and here you are. What do you remember about the space?
I don't know if I can say a lot, but I remember the space very well. The space was like my second home. Whenever there's problems at home, I'll come to the space and do my work no matter how hard, and that will take away worries.